Alright, guys, so I know even though Halloween was yesterday, we're going to do a spooky comic. And this was another one sent to me by my friend Chris. Chris, thank you once again. And we're going to be talking about Blood Hunt. This was the most recent event in Marvel Comics that came out in trade a little while ago. I was hoping to get it read and reviewed before the end of October, but hey, the Batman Dylan Dog one was pretty long. Even though it was only 3 issues, it was a pretty oversized comic. And hey, it did kind of serve the purpose of, being a comic book that could, still be spooky. So this was an event I was really interested in. This was written by Jed MacKay, who's currently being the major workhorse over at Marvel. I gotta be honest, he's been doing a lot, and I've been really loving what he's been doing, from Moon Knight to Avengers to Doctor Strange. He's been doing a lot of those comics. And it's funny because in here, it basically ties together a good, outside of like a few characters here and there, a good majority of this book is about, centered around the Jed MacKay projects. So it's kind of nice to see an event where rather than just kind of the writer overextending himself, MacKay's like, hey, I'm already doing these titles, so it's all gonna be part of my little corner of the Marvel Universe, the MacKay-verse, as I'm calling it. So Jed MacKay brings together all these elements and some other characters he hasn't written yet, together. So, what is Blood Hunt about? Blood Hunt, for those who don't know, Blood Hunt is a Marvel comic event involving a massive vampire invasion. What has happened is that every being who ever used the Dark Force has now suddenly exploded and have now unleashed the Dark Force from the Dark Dimension into the sky and have blocked out the sun all over the world. In doing so, a massive vampire incursion has happened. And now, everywhere across the planet, vampires are attacking every corner of the world. And who is orchestrating this attack? It's not Dracula, it's Blade. Yeah, Blade the Vampire Hunter is now the new king of vampires and has unleashed a undead horde of vampires across the planet, but there's something else going on, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so the heroes now have to, unite in order to stop Blade and the vampire hordes from taking over the planet. But there's much more to that going on, and it leaves some implications which I will talk about in this review. So what I like about this is that it's just a fun event. This comic is a super fun event. This definitely has that kind of fun Halloween feel. It definitely has that that fun, spooky feel, and it's just nice to have a fun event. I haven't really felt this a Marvel has had a fun event since King in Black. And it's kind of funny because King in Black and this have a lot in common. Sun gets blocked out, symbiotes invade the planet, and in here it's vampires. There's a big bad in here who wants something from the planet. There's a lot connection between this and King in Black that I didn't really realize until just now recording this review. So actually, so I really like that of also propping up Blade's daughter, Briella, aka Bloodline, who's now has to team up with Dracula in order to stop her father. We also have the Avengers, who get crippled by this group called the Blood Coven, which I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it here again. Man, Jed MacKay, as good as a writer he is, he's really starting to show his hand in terms of writing. This is now the 3rd time he's done this, and by this, I mean he's basically taken he must have, I don't know how much anime Jed MacKay watches, I really don't, but it's starting to become obvious. Basically what Jed MacKay has done in Death of Doctor Strange, in his start of Avengers, his comic book Timeless, which does tie into the Avengers stuff, and now this, he's basically, what he does is create a group of villains, of unique villains with cool sounding names and all have their own unique powers to them that can counteract the other superhero. This is now the third time he's done this. I'm starting like, McKay, come on, man. I really like your writing, but dude, you are it's kind of getting predictable with the Blood Coven. But yeah, so you did that with Meridian and the knights he has. You did that with the mothers from Death of Doctor Strange. Come on, man. And now you're doing it here. Come on, man. It's starting to become predictable with you. But there's a lot more good than there is bad here. There's a lot of, like, the stakes actually feel really high. The Avengers get beaten down. And it's really cool to see all these characters. Because remember, this does a lot. This is basically like another chapter in Jed MacKay's story. In here, we also have he's been his big thing was Moon Knight, and this actually ties in with a lot what he's doing with Moon Knight, in that you have the return of Khonshu, and in doing so, the resurrection of Mark Spector. Then you have his stuff with Avengers going on, which I'll get into a little more, but you have his stuff going on with Avengers, and you have him who's been Jed MacKay, who's been writing Doctor Strange. Also, this is kind of a major focal point because in here, Blade basically tries to take out and turn Strange, so Strange has to leave his corporeal body, which has now become a vampire, and has to do everything in his astral form alongside Clea, which is really fun. And then you, like I said, the Avengers, they lose probably their three of their biggest members, which is Wanda, Thor, and T'Challa, Black Panther. So Sam, Carol, Vision, and Iron Man are all that's left with the team. And there's this great moment where they're like, hey, we gotta get Sam in front of a camera. And Sam basically delivers one of the coolest monologues I've seen in a long time from a character, basically telling the world we're going to be okay because we've done this before. We've encountered Thanos, Null, Hydra, the Kotati. What did we do? We told them no. If they want this world, they're going to have to pry it from our cold, dead hands. And it sparks the whole world into fighting back. I really kind of hope that soon we get a Sam Wilson or a Captain America book from Jed MacKay. It's kind of clear he really wants to write that character. Yeah. So there, I thought that was really cool. Then we have the real thing that's going on, because it turns out it's not Blade who is behind it all. I mean, it is Blade, but it's someone else puppeting him. That being, and I called it when I heard like this whole thing about I called it when I kind of figured out by issue 2. I was like, oh, I know who this is, and it's Varney. For those who don't know who Varney is, in the Marvel Universe, Varney was the first vampire. He's actually a villain of Conan. He's actually, he fought Conan and Red Sonja back when Marvel had those titles under them. So it was really cool to see Varney return after so long. Because he wasn't used for decades. I haven't seen him since the 90s. Yeah, that was the last time I saw him, was like somewhere in Midnight Suns, I believe. So Varney is the big villain behind it all. And there's a lot of great moments, like just epic moments, like the armies of Khonshu coming down to fight the vampires, being led by Mark Spector. Then you have another major thing that happens and is a big effect of the Marvel Universe, which is Doctor Doom is now Sorcerer Supreme, and that's leading into next year's big Marvel event. So, you have that going on and leading into that. And I'm curious to see what Jed MacKay and the rest of the Marvel Universe are going to do with that. Because, it's not like they're trying to like really prop up Doom more because of, he's going to be suddenly the next big MCU villain, right? It can't be that. No way. Yeah, it's very straightforward. It's a very straightforward book, and I actually finished it pretty quick, but I did really enjoy it. It's also going to be fun because I know Chris is sending me Avengers, Doctor Strange, and Vengeance of the Moon Knight, all of which are basically tie-ins to Blood Hunt. He also sent me Fantastic Four, and that volume's also a Blood Hunt tie-in as well. So and those kind of seem important, like the Doctor Strange, Avengers, and I probably should also get the Bloodline Blood Hunt tie-in too, which is weird because by the end of it, it feels like Bloodline it felt ancillary, even though they were kind of building her up throughout most of the comic to be the big hero of the story, and then suddenly Doom comes in and it's all switched on Doom. I don't know. That just felt weird to me. I was like reading that, I was like, then what was the point of Briella at the end? Maybe they explain that better in the Bloodline Dracula tie-in to this. But yeah, so it's going to be cool to read those, because again, Chris is sending me those on a monthly basis, and those are basically tie-ins of their own. So it's going to be cool to read the more expanded story to this comic. But yeah, do I recommend Blood Hunt? Absolutely. This is a fun event. This is a cool horror-centric storyline. Does Jed MacKay kind of showcase his, show his hand, and now that we know what he is as a writer? Yeah, but there's still some great moments, like again, Captain America's speech, the return of Varney. A lot more good stuff in here than bad. So, and it's definitely one of the better events I've seen in a while. So yeah, Chris, thank you once again for sending me this comic. And you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of Blood Hunt on a whole? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.